Our first speaker is a veteran of the U.S. Army. Mr. Brent Rice served in the Army from 2001 to 2005 with the 3rd Infantry Division's famed 7th Cavalry as an M1A1 Abrams tank crewman. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree in social work. And he is here from Tell City, Indiana, Mr. Brent Rice.
Hello, everyone. First, I just want to say that I consider it a privilege to be here speaking to you all today. I'm passionate about suicide prevention. There are thousands of veterans who could be up here in my place today, so I'm humbled and honored to be called on to share my story with you. I once read that enough people kill themselves in the United States each day to fill a 747. I ask, where's the outrage? If a plane was crashing every day in our country, I have no doubts that there would be a call to action. This is an epidemic. My only hope that what I have to say will encourage all of you to continue working to put an end to suicide once and for all. My story is one that shows the devastating effects of substance abuse and PTSD and how these issues led me to the brink of death by suicide. Following my enlistment in the United States Army, I ventured down a dark and very lonely path. The grace of God and the help of many people are the only reason I'm here speaking today. I cannot take credit for my recovery. I've had a lot of help along the way. Many of you here today have been affected by suicide in some form or fashion. Many of you probably wonder if we can ever actually put an end to suicide. Can we be certain that there is a way to prevent every suicidal human being from taking their life? I hope all of you believe that we can do that. I pray that through my testimony, others may find hope and never give up. My life has been a roller coaster. My upbringing was as normal as it could be. I come from a very close-knit family. I am from small-town USA, Tell City, Indiana to be exact. I joined the Army on April Fool's Day, 2001. I always make it a point to tell people this because it felt like the Army played a huge joke on me. I enlisted for the college money and the bonus during peacetime. Following the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, as with every American, my life was changed forever. The Army got really serious after that. I was deployed to war in Iraq. A lot of bad things happened, and I was changed forever. My story is one that highlights how inspiration and passion can rise out of the most evil and dark actions that man has to offer, war. I served my time in the Army at Fort Stewart, Georgia, in the 3rd Infantry Division. My unit was the 3rd Squadron, 7th United States Cavalry. I was a tank crewman on an M1A1 Abrams main battle tank. Following the terrorist attacks of 2001, we were deployed to Kuwait in January of 2003. We landed in Kuwait on my 21st birthday. I will never forget that day, as it was the only day it rained the whole time I was deployed. We were not at war with Iraq yet, but would be very soon. My unit was to be the lead unit of the entire push towards Baghdad. We were the tip of the spear, they called it. My tank was actually the 4th tank to cross the berm the night we invaded. My unit was involved in some of the heaviest combat of the entire invasion. A lot of bad things happened, but I will not go into that. We were in Iraq from March 19th to sometime in August, when we got word that we would finally be going home. We were sent back to Kuwait to process our return back to the United States. I remember the day like it was yesterday. We filed into a large tent with dozens of rows of chairs. We were handed a thick packet of paperwork and a pencil. An Army psychiatrist paced back and forth in front of us. His hands were behind his back. Most of what he said was a blur. But one thing he said I will never forget. He informed us that if we were to answer yes to any of the questions in the packet we were holding, we would not be going home. Rather, we would be left behind to be evaluated. So every one of us answered no to each question without even reading what they had to ask. Looking back, I realized that had I took the time to answer those questions truthfully, I may have saved myself a world of pain. Upon our return home, I quickly realized that something was not right inside my mind. I was having nightmares, isolating, drinking to sleep, drinking to wake up, getting in fights all of the time, and getting in serious trouble. I began smoking marijuana. I was arrested for DUI and failed a drug test. I was stripped of my rank and placed on extra duty and restriction for 45 days. I was a good soldier, a proud soldier, so you can imagine the embarrassment I was feeling. I just could not do the right thing anymore. I could not make good decisions. I was medically discharged in June of 2005. I returned home to southern Indiana. In a matter of 36 months, I was arrested for drunk driving 3 times. In the state of Indiana, 2 drunken driving charges in a matter of 5 years is a felony offense, and here I was with 3. I was facing 6 years in prison. Following my second DUI, I was so drunk that when I woke up in the jail cell, I had no idea what I had done to be there. For all I knew, I could have killed someone. Each DUI was accompanied with a violent car wreck. The first responders could not believe that I was alive, let alone in one piece. I quickly had burnt every bridge to safety in my life. My family wanted nothing to do with me. My only friends were drunks and junkies. I was homeless and hopeless. I moved from couch to couch, mostly with only the clothes on my back. I began using methamphetamine, painkillers, Xanax, and any other substance I could get my hands on. I would use these drugs in any method imaginable, from shooting them into my veins to smoking them. I just didn't care. I was living a dangerously reckless lifestyle. I hated using drugs, but I hated reality even more. Following my last arrest, my mom bailed me out of jail. This time was different. Instead of going to her house, we headed to my sister's. There were a dozen or so of my family and friends there, prepared to conduct an intervention. I refused to go inside the house. I sat on my sister's driveway beside my mom's car. She begged me to come inside. I refused, and we argued. She asked me to simply tell her what she could do to help me. "What is wrong with you?" she asked. I remember looking up at her and saying, "I don't know, Mom. I just know that I don't want to live anymore, and I'm going to kill myself today." She rushed into my sister's house and was in there for several minutes. While she was inside, I was planning how I would kill myself that night. I would go to the river and blow my brains out with my pistol. Mom came back outside a few minutes later holding a phone. She told me there was someone on the phone who wanted to speak to me. I told her I didn't want to talk to anyone. She insisted, and I violently snatched the phone from her hand. On the other end of the phone was who I now refer to as my angel. Her name was Barbara, and she worked for the VA. You see, my mom went in and called the Veterans Crisis Line. How she knew to call them is beyond me. I had never even been to the VA since I had been out of the Army. This was 2008, so I had been out for over 3 years. Barbara convinced me to immediately come to the hospital in Louisville, Kentucky. So my brother-in-law drove me the 90 miles, and there I met Barbara. She assisted my intake into the inpatient psych facility at the Louisville VA hospital. I spent the next 10 days detoxing and talking to a lot of therapists. I was diagnosed with PTSD and mild traumatic brain injury. This began my long road to recovery. The VA advocated for me in court and helped me get placed on probation instead of prison. The VA claimed that due to my undiagnosed PTSD and TBI, I needed help instead of jail time. I was ordered to participate in all of the treatment that the VA suggested I receive. I spent a total of 2 years in inpatient treatment. When I was finally ready to leave the long-term drug treatment program I had been in for 13 months, I was told that I should stay in Louisville and not return to my hometown. I followed this suggestion and moved into a tiny apartment in a 72-year-old lady's backyard. Joyce actually passed away last week. She was as instrumental in my recovery as anyone I know. She gave me a chance. I began volunteering for the suicide prevention program at the Louisville VA. Barbara, the lady who talked me out of killing myself, would be my supervisor. As a volunteer, I conducted in-home visits, shared my story at military facilities, and assisted in group therapy sessions for suicide prevention. Barbara and Dr. Lori Johnson convinced me that I had a gift and that I would make a great social worker. So I enrolled at Campbellsville University in Louisville, where I graduated last May with a bachelor's degree in social work. I will graduate this May with a master's degree in social work from the University of Louisville. Thank you. I was married to my beautiful wife, Julie, 1 week after graduating last May. All of these things are nothing short of a miracle. I hope to work as a social worker for the VA one day. I hope to use my experience to help as many veterans as I possibly can. My dream is to be a social worker in a VA suicide prevention program. There are countless people who have helped me along the way. My participation in this event today is only possible due to the many people who have helped me. I credit my recovery to my Christian faith, the VA's mental health, and Alcoholics Anonymous. The crisis line saved my life that day in 2008. I owe my life to the wonderful people in the suicide prevention program at the Louisville VA. Dr. Lori Johnson and Barbara Cameron are rock stars. Them asking me to volunteer gave me a role in life that I was desperately missing. The many therapists who have listened to me and guided me along the way have been a blessing. I beg all of you to use every resource at your disposal to fight the epidemic of suicide among my veteran and military brothers and sisters. Do not be closed-minded. Do whatever it takes. Do not consider suicide prevention as a 9-to-5 job. Go the extra mile. Always be available. Know the warning signs. They are always there if you look hard enough. Ask the tough questions and be prepared for the tough answers. If a veteran prefers to speak to a chaplain over a therapist, allow them to do it. Just because you may not believe in God, don't hinder them from using their faith to get better, because it worked for me. Listen to the veteran. Seek the funding to keep home visit programs running. Keep the suicide prevention groups active. Promote the crisis line if it is even possible to promote it more than it already is. I have a purpose today and a hope and a passion for life. I turn the worst experiences a human being can endure into inspiration and hope. My traumas, disorders, and addictions tried to put me in the grave. My brain tried to make me kill myself. In my darkest moment of life, people listened to me and cared. They didn't give up on me when I was trying to give up on myself. I urge all of you to be like them and don't give up and always be available to save a life. Thank you all so very much for listening to me today.